Hey team, welcome back to History Group. We are now in week 6 of History Group. I don't really think that there are any big updates for this week. I will say though that I am still assuming that there is absolutely no budget for History Group, so we're still rocking with the bad camera, my bad microphone that I have down here, bad lighting, the whole thing. Bad editing software because you guys don't want me to have a budget. Anyways, let's get into it. I'm trying to raise revenue for History Group. What do historians like? Historians like the Chicago Manual of Style.
Chicago! Chicago! It's a city that's exciting, it's a city that's inviting, it's a city for a woman just like me. There's a lake they call Lake Michigan, I think I'm really fitting in. This city is my perfect cup of tea. Chicago! 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 The doctor says I ain't never gonna walk again. Not even on crutches. But I'm gonna tell you something. I'm scared. I'm a woman in Chicago who's scared.
The show will now begin.
In the beginning, there was nothing. And then, there was woman! Wow, I can't believe I'm here in the city of Chicago. Why, anything could happen to a woman like me here in Chicago. Chicago! Chicago! It's a city that's exciting, it's a city that's inviting, it's a city for a woman just like me. There's a lake they call Lake Michigan, I think I'm really fitting in. This city is my perfect cup of tea. Chicago! Chicago! I'm doing it! I'm doing it! I'm a woman in Chicago learning how to walk again. Thanks to Doc Stevens and my new plastic legs. Take that, Chicago! You're no match for a woman like me. From now on, I'm calling this city Chicago. You're welcome. You're all welcome. Yes, it's okay to laugh. I'm hilarious.
The Chicago Manual of Style. This is the 17th edition of the Chicago Manual of Style. We are now sponsored by Chicago Style. Chicago Style is a perfect citation method for if you're writing a history, geography, or political science related paper. It is the major accepted citation management source for the fields. Guys, in here, a lot of good things. A lot of good things in here. But in case books aren't your style, citations aren't your style, by the way, with the citations, you really want to go with footnotes and then endnotes or something. You don't want to do author date. Author date is for chumps. But let's get into some of the ways Chicago Style can really benefit you. Let's go to stop share here for a second, and then I will screen share right here. Boom. Welcome. This is the store, the merch for the Chicago Manual of Style. You can get t-shirts, okay? You can get pictures, hoodies, rain jackets. They even have Chicago Manual of Style skateboards. That way, guys, while you're at the skate park, all of your friends are going to know that you use footnotes or author date. They're going to know that you're cool, okay? They have pillows. If you want your baby to have some Chicago style merch, you can do that. There's phone cases. Let me see on here some other fun stuff. Masks. There, guys, there's yoga mats. If for yoga group or meditation group, you guys want to show off the premier, the superior method of citing your sources, put this on your petition. They also have, where is it? Maybe it's on Home Goods. Blankets. Guys, you can have these in your room, okay? Turabian, that's a little different. That's like Chicago Style Junior. Get one of these ones, okay? Or this one. Anyways, that's enough for our sponsors. Use code HISTORYGROUP at checkout for absolutely no discount. Okay, stop share, and let's go back to History Group. Yeah, that is what I want. Okay, let's get into it. This week, we are going to be going over, let me make myself smaller. We're going to be going over vampires, aliens, and witches. We're going to look at mythology throughout history. This is barely history, guys. Barely history. We are scraping the bottom of the barrel as far as true evidence is concerned. With Chicago Style, you would not cite vampires. You would not cite aliens. You can cite witches. I have cited witches as a source before. But you have to do it carefully. Let's dive into this. I think we're starting with vampires. Yeah, so vampires aren't real. They just not how the world works. The legend of vampires comes from a few different things. First, let's go over porphyria. If you haven't heard of porphyria, that's because not a lot of people have heard of it. It's a medical condition that people suffered from, and it ran through the royal families in Europe in the Middle Ages, even as recently as George III, who reigned until 1820, I believe. He had porphyria. So back in the day, they might have called him a vampire. Who knows? The thing with porphyria, though, is your skin gets super sensitive. So when you go outside, it hurts. Your skin starts to blister, okay? Almost like you're allergic to sunlight. Boom, vampire. What? There's also, with porphyria, extended porphyria, the gums, your gums start to recede. So it starts to look like you have fangs because your teeth go out. Vampires? I think not. Porphyria. Another thing that happens with porphyria, when you urinate, okay, aka tinkle, aka loosen the bladder, aka peeing in the toilet or outside of the toilet, it's like red. So people might think you're drinking blood. Okay, another reason people might think you're drinking blood is because you get these sores around your mouth from going outside. Maybe the sores pop open. You got blood on your mouth now with your fangs. People are going to be like, homegirl looks like she was drinking blood. Vampire. This is where these myths start to come from. There was probably some other things. Oh, garlic. You have an aversion to garlic. When you have porphyria, it's just not good. You go kind of crazy. I'll try to find a clip from a movie about George III of him dealing with porphyria. If I can find it, I'll play it now. But if I can't find it, then screw it. Team, I could not find the video from that clip from the movie of George III. I did, though, find a travel advertisement for this area of Romania that we're going to talk about. I can't remember. I'm just editing this after the fact. I don't know if I've already talked about it or not. It's called Transylvania. Anyways, they're going to try to reference that Vlad Dracula or Vlad the Impaler was the inspiration behind Dracula. Okay, he says it like it for sure happened. Guys, I'm not sold on it. It's pretty loose connections that, anyways, we're going to play the travel advertisement now.
Among other things, Transylvania is well known for its rustic and wild countryside and a medieval history with a surprising German twist. In the 12th century, Transylvania's Hungarian overlords needed help taming this wild frontier. So they imported skilled merchants and hardworking settlers from the German lands. For that reason, you'll find German-speaking enclaves and delightful German towns in this part of Romania. One of Transylvania's 7 original German towns is Sighișoara, perhaps the most popular tourist town in all of Romania. The old center is entirely contained within its fortified hilltop. Several of Sighișoara's watchtowers still survive, and its historic centerpiece is its clock tower, proudly trumpeting the town's special status in the Middle Ages. Within the town's protective walls, visitors explore cobbled lanes, enjoy pastel German-style facades, and sip beers on the main square. Nearby, a statue honors the town's tenuous connection with an infamous Romanian prince, Vlad Țepeș. In the 15th century, he ruthlessly fought the Turkish Ottomans. Much later, he became better known as the inspiration for a vampire. Vlad had 2 nicknames, Vlad the Impaler and Dracula. That means son of the devil. Vlad the Impaler was brutal in his defense of his homeland. While he didn't drink anyone's blood, he was sadistic, famously impaling his victims. The popular Dracula myth came much later. Dracula in the myth is a fictitious vampire created centuries later by the Victorian novelist Bram Stoker. He wrote his famous novel Dracula after being inspired by the tales of this bloodthirsty prince and other local legends. Vlad the Impaler, important prince. Dracula the vampire, just a scary fairy tale. Nevertheless, Dracula is big business for local tourism.
Next thing, Vlad Dracula, aka Vlad the Impaler. Savage. Man was a savage. He was in charge of the Transylvania region of Romania, which is this beautiful scenery we see down here. Mustache over here, this guy. That's Vlad the Impaler. He, well, he would impale people. Not much to it, guys. And then he's from Romania, which is why people think, oh, well, maybe vampires are from the Transylvania region of Romania. Guys, it's not true. A lot of people do think, though, that the story, Dracula, the book, the film, is based on the name Dracula, or however you pronounce that, of Vlad the Impaler. This also is not true. Dracula was a mistranslation from the Romanian term for evil or devil. Turns out that was wrong. So Dracula is just a word that they named a fictional, aka fake, vampire about, because vampires aren't real. I don't know the story of Dracula, but for funsies, we're going to play the story of Dracula.
Dracula by Bram Stoker. All expenses paid work trips abroad are all fun and games until you find out your boss is a blood-sucking vampire. This is exactly what happens to young lawyer Jonathan Harker when he's hired by the mysterious Count Dracula to go to Transylvania and help him purchase an estate in England. Jonathan soon unearths the dark secret lurking in the castle, so the Count imprisons him, heads across the channel and tries to make a meal out of Harker's fiancée Lucy and her beautiful friend Mina. Despite being the most notorious vampire story in the world, the book itself was not actually that popular when it was first published in 1897. It caught on much later when the story of the big old blood-sucking bat was brought to life on the stage and on screen.
I am Dracula.
While Stoker didn't invent vampires, he did create a lot of the mythology that everyone associates with them today. We have him to thank for Buffy, Twilight, and Sesame Street's maths-loving Count Von Count. One of the causes of the original vampire legends back in the day was the unexplained outbreak of disease. Back before we could see tiny organisms through microscopes, no one understood how illnesses were spread, and strange symptoms would often be blamed on the supernatural. Just like an infection, vampires can move invisible among crowds, and their condition can spread when they get too close to a person. Reading Bram Stoker's novel in light of the recent coronavirus pandemic gives a whole new insight on why everyone is so scared of spooky old Dracula. You can even think of holy water as the Victorians' answer to hand sanitizer.
Next, we're going to look at aliens. Okay? Giorgio A. Tsoukalos, he's the History Channel guy. This man up here, the aliens. The man is not a historian. Okay, let's just get that out of the way right now. He's on the History Channel. He's a conspiracy theorist. He's a ufologist or ufologist. He uses pseudoscience to back up his claims of aliens. I will play a clip of something, of a compilation of things that he has said. I'll play that now.
The only way the ancient astronaut theory can be disproven is when the extraterrestrials show up.
We were building pyramids, Sumeria was created, all those different high achievements were done. And the ancient astronaut theory suggests that this is a direct result of extraterrestrials tampering with our DNA. So we're half human and half extraterrestrial. We're hybrids. The great thing about the ancient alien theory is the fact that we can compare modern achievements with stories from our ancient past. And so if today we're able to create a two-headed dog with 6 legs, is it possible that a similar creature existed thousands of years ago? And I say yes. There are many ancient legends which suggest that some of the monuments were built with the help of acoustic levitation. What the local legend of Stonehenge talks about is that those big stones were transported by way of levitation. Is such a thing even possible? Yes, it is.
Next, I will play a clip of the famous historian and journalist Philomena Kunk for how the pyramids were built without aliens.
They told whole stories in hieroglyphic code. It's like a more coherent Marvel comic. Rather than being put up in public where living people could enjoy them, these Egyptian comic strips were painted on the walls of tombs to entertain dead people. And those tombs lay beneath some of the most recognisable, not to mention pointiest, buildings in history. I'm talking about the pyramids.
Looking at the pyramids today, it's impossible not to be struck by the thought that they're basically big triangles with a sort of square arse. There's probably a word for that shape, but literally no one knows what it might be. It's one of the many timeless mysteries of the pyramids.
Why are pyramids that shape? Is it to stop homeless people sleeping on them?
I don't think they had many homeless people in ancient Egypt.
Oh, did they not?
No, people looked after each other, I think, and helped each other.
Right. I suppose it's good with rain as well, because it'll just roll off. How did Egyptians build the pyramids? Did they start at the top and work down, or start at the bottom and work up?
They had to start at the bottom and work up, because it would be impossible to start at the top and work down.
The Egyptians believed the most significant thing you could do in your life was die. And the more important you were, the more complicated your death had to be.
Egyptian kings were known as pharaohs, and when they died, they'd get turned into mummies of Scooby-Doo fame. The ancient Egyptians were obsessed with dead people, weren't they? But they're all dead themselves now, so do you think they still feel that way?
The ancient Egyptians weren't obsessed with dead people, but actually they were obsessed with life. They wanted to be alive, and they wanted to make sure that when they died, they came alive again, and that's why they did mummification.
So how did they mummify people? Talk me through the process.
You get your dead body, and you lay it out on a table, and then you wash it, and then you start by removing the brain, and then they would cut open down the middle of the body, and they would take out anything that they thought would rot. And then they would cover it in salt and dry it out, and then they would wrap it in bandages, and then that would be a mummy.
So the kind of spa treatment that Gwyneth Paltrow has on a weekly basis. Has a mummy ever ridden a bicycle?
Not that I know of, no. But the ancient Egyptians didn't have bicycles.
Right.
They didn't even have roads, so they couldn't have a bicycle because they couldn't ride a bicycle.
Well, I don't know why I asked that. I couldn't think of anything else to say.
Guys, aliens are not a realistic historical theory, okay? Aliens did not help build the Great Wall of China. Aliens did not build the pyramids in Egypt. Aliens did not build the pyramids in Mexico. Aliens did not help either side during World War II. Are there aliens? Maybe. Maybe. We'll get into that in a second. But you cannot say anything in history happened because of aliens. We're going to skip the UFO sightings for now. Let's go into the scientific perspective. We're going to play a clip now from NASA of the possibility of aliens existing.
Do aliens exist? That's a really interesting question, and one that we have been trying to understand and explore and figure out for a really long time. We have not yet discovered life on any other planet. We haven't seen any scientifically supported evidence for extraterrestrial life. But if we think about life on this planet beyond the big things, the elephants, the whales, redwoods, and focus on the tiny things, nearly everywhere on Earth that we've looked, we found microbial life. And our definition of habitable continues to expand. Off the Earth, we've only begun to look. NASA has sent 5 rovers and 4 landers to the surface of Mars. In addition to that, our orbiters have been outfitted with some amazing cameras to take pictures of the whole surface of the planet. And we've only explored a tiny fraction of Mars. And that's only one of the promising bodies to look for life in our solar system. There are icy moons in the outer solar system, like Enceladus and Europa, that look like they may have subsurface oceans that could be habitable. And then that's just what's in our solar system. The more exoplanets we find around other stars, the more we learn about how many different environments could exist for life. So we can't yet say for sure whether or not aliens exist. But to quote Carl Sagan, the universe is a pretty big place. If it's just us, it seems like an awful waste of space. So we will keep looking.
So if aliens do exist, which I'm totally open to the idea that they do. In fact, personally, I would say that some form of life probably does exist on other planets, not in our solar system, light years away, but still, it could happen. I mean, it's a massive universe. It would be illogical to say that there are no aliens. But let's look at this. Okay, let's go to radar scopes for a second. This bottom picture down here. This is an air traffic control facility. As I told you guys, I have worked at before, not this facility in particular. But you see a radar scope, and you can see these little green things here. That is information about planes. And then much smaller, you can see the little targets for the planes. That is because a radar goes out, hits an object, and then it comes back. So it appears on your radar screen that there's an object there. You find me one piece of evidence of somebody finding a UFO. I'll wait. There's a whole procedure. The document that regulates air traffic control in the United States is the FAA JO 7610.65. In there is the procedure for what to do if you encounter a UFO. I have yet to hear of any air traffic controller ever spotting a UFO. Other things could be something like this picture up here with these lights. I have personally seen these before. And when I first saw them, I was like, oh crap, what is that? There's a perfectly logical explanation for it. These are the Starlink satellites that Elon Musk is sending out. It's not some big, crazy alien spacecraft, you know? But let's go ahead and I'll play footage of 1 or 2 UFO sightings, and then we'll get into some pictures, okay?
Mom! Mom!
It's turning.
Mom!
There's more!
Mom!
What is going on in the sky? There's 3.
Mom! What is going on?
They are blinking. It's Christmas Eve.
They're blinking like Rudolph's nose.
There is...
And there's 4 of these.
Oh my gosh, and they're turning. And they're coming.
Mom!
There's more and it's glowing!
It looks like a reindeer!
What in the world? Go, Michelle!
Oh my god! Mom!
What is happening?
I can't.
This is so crazy! What is this?
She doesn't answer.
Call Jeremy. Or Grammy. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
Look at how far up in the sky they are.
Oh my god.
Look at how it's just going straight up.
And you can almost see like legs or some. Hello? Jeremy, are you in the car? Okay, if you drive by Circle S, there are these red things.
Look at that. Look at that. Holy shit.
Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, let's look at some film of, or not some film, some pictures of possible UFOs. Here, guys, we see mountains, we see sky, and we see a flying saucer, okay? Is this image fake? Probably, because there's just no way. But it matches the lighting, so we cannot completely rule out that this is fake. So for now, it is a possible UFO. Let's look at another one. This was a picture taken, I believe, in 1958. You see this big white spot here. Now, there's a couple explanations for this. One, it could be just something in the camera. Old cameras weren't that great. But you do see this little trail here. So you could say it's a big flying saucer or something like that. I think personally a better explanation is it was likely some sort of munitions test. Maybe they were testing a new kind of bomb. Maybe they were testing out sonic booms or something like that from aircraft. So this is the 50s. This is during the Cold War. Personally, I would say this is probably a military thing, but we cannot completely rule out aliens on this one. So for now, we label it a possible UFO. Let's look at the third and final one. Okay, so what we see here is a flying saucer. However, we do have a hand right here, or what appears to be a hand. So it's possible that this one was faked, but since we cannot prove that it was faked, we have to label this a possible UFO. Okay, guys, it took me a while to edit those clips all together, but now we are on to witchcraft and magic, okay?
I was thinking I'd do some magic. You? Magic Charles. It says talent.
Witchcraft, now this is an actual thing that has happened in history. I'm not saying they were actually witches, but we'll get into that a little later. At the beginning of this history group, I told you guys that I have cited witches in papers. Not like I put a little citation in parentheses, witchcraft, but people accused of witchcraft. I have cited that as a source. That's a scholarly thing because witch hunts were a phenomenon that actually happened. And there was no witch, but there are witches. You know what I'm saying? You might not, but that's fine. Who was a witch? Witchcraft was primarily accused on women. Why? Well, because this last bullet point here. Men do not understand women. Women could do pretty much anything and be accused of witchcraft. Anything from speaking out of turn. Witch. She's obviously possessed by the devil. That's why she thinks she's on equal standing as a man. Or not going to church. Oh, she's obviously, in cahoots with the devil. A woman that spoke her mind. Oh, a witch. Obviously, she's got to be a witch. A woman with opinions of her own, burn her at the stake. It was really just, you can boil it down to misogyny. Some men were accused of witchcraft too. Let's be fair to the guys, but not many of them. Guys, sorry, but you lose on this one. There are more females that died from being accused as witches. Why did these witch hunts happen, though? Obviously, Christianity was a dominant religion in North America, in Europe, when these witch hunts were happening. So they wanted to get rid of anyone that was in cahoots with the devil. A book or a treatise was published called the Malleus Maleficarum, which is roughly translated to be the Hammer of Witches. And this spurred all of the witch hunts in Europe. Obviously, we all think of the Salem witch trials. There were so many more. In Europe, though, there would be an accusation of witchcraft, and it wasn't like how a lot of people think it was, oh, I think so-and-so is a witch, and then they tie her up and burn her. It's not how it happened, and very rarely were witches actually burnt, or witches actually burnt. In Scotland, sometimes after the witch had died, they would burn her body then, just to get rid of the spirits or whatever. But it didn't typically, they weren't burnt alive, okay? Sometimes in the Alps, southern Germany, southeastern France, sometimes it did happen. But realistically, they were on trial, just like people are on trial today. There was an accusation, and then they'd give their defense, they'd look at all the evidence, and then they'd make a decision. I think I've read somewhere it was only 25% in the total of all the witch hunts. Only 25% of the trials ended in the court saying that the woman was actually a witch. One of the ways they did determine it, though, we've all heard of all these cruel medieval things that have happened, is they thought that a witch would float in water. I can't remember exactly why, but a witch would float, something to do with her soul being empty. Anyways, a witch would float. If she wasn't a witch, she would sink. And obviously, if she sinks, she will drown. So what they did sometimes is they would tie a rope around her waist and then throw her into the water. And if she starts to sink, they would just pull her back in. Obviously, that didn't work every time. Sometimes they drown, and it would be an innocent person. But in the eyes of the church at the time, well, it was an innocent Christian woman, so at least she's in heaven now. It's ridiculous. However, let's get to the Salem. Actually, before we get to the Salem witch trials, I'll play a little funny clip from Monty Python. It's just a little humorous thing. Don't take it seriously even at all.
I'm the witch. May we burn her?
How do you know she is a witch?
She looks like one. Yeah, she looks like one.
Bring her forward.
I'm not a witch. I'm not a witch.
But you are dressed as one.
They dressed me up like this.
We did.
And this isn't my nose. It's a false one.
Well,
Well, we did do the nose
the nose?
and the hat, but she's a witch.
Did you dress her up like this?
No.
No.
Yes. Yeah, a bit. She has got a wart.
What makes you think she is a witch?
Well, she turned me into a newt.
A newt?
I got better.
Burn her anyway! Quiet! There are ways of telling whether she is a witch.
Are there? What are they? Tell us.
Tell me, what do you do with witches? And what do you burn apart from witches?
More witches!
Wood! So, why do witches burn?
Because they're made of wood.
Good! So, how do we tell whether she is made of wood?
Build a bridge out of her.
Ah, but can you not also make bridges out of stone?
Oh, yeah.
Does a wood sink in water?
No, it floats. It floats. Throw her into the pond.
What also floats in water?
Bread. Apples. Very small rocks. Cider. A great gravy. Cherries. Mud. Churches. Lead. A duck.
Exactly. So, logically,
if she weighs the same as a duck, she's made of wood.
And therefore...
A witch!
Very good, we shall use my larger scales. Right, remove the supports.
It's a fair cop.
Okay, now let's talk about the Salem witch trials. This happened in Massachusetts in, I don't know, one of those years, 1692, I think. But this was colonial America. This was a society of people of the Puritan faith. And they just went crazy with witch accusations. There had been witch accusations and witch trials and executions in America before this. But now, I mean, it was happening all the time. A lot of you have probably read or seen The Crucible, which is a play about the Salem witch trials. And basically it was this mass hysteria where they were putting people on trial for witchcraft. Everybody was accusing everybody of witchcraft. And after this, I can't remember exactly how many people were put on trial and everything, but they were put on trial for the most ridiculous things. And they boiled it down to, oh, this one, I think it was 3 women. And they said that those 3 people just got everybody going with this witchcraft crap or something like that. I'm not an expert on this. After the fact, though, the governor of Massachusetts, or however that worked, basically said, holy crap, that was a mistake. We really, went into psychosis or something. We put all those people on trial for witchcraft. There's just no way they were all witches. We went crazy. you know? And again, just boils it down to men do not understand women. And I could do a whole history group about the ways women have been misunderstood in history because it's just ridiculous. The things that men would do to explain female behavior. Like, ladies, we are lucky we live at this point in time, because if we didn't, we'd be in serious trouble. Let's move on. Uh-oh. Why won't it move on? There we go. In conclusion, guys, some people just don't get it. People are always going to believe in vampires. Guys, vampires don't exist. People are always going to think aliens built the pyramids and Stonehenge and the other pyramids and the Great Wall of China and everything. They didn't. It's not plausible. It's pseudoscience. People are always going to believe that, witchcraft was this crazy thing because how dare a woman speak her mind and how dare a woman don't go to church. Like, come on, if we're going to study the social sciences, if we're going to study history, we have to use the scientific method. And then what do you do when you use the scientific method and study history? You write about it and you publish it. And ideally, you will use the Chicago Manual of Style for all your citation needs. Notes bibliography is preferred. Author date, though, if you just can't understand footnotes. If you can't understand footnotes, let me know, and I will help you format it. It's a very difficult thing to get the hang of, but once you got the hang of it, it's actually kind of fun. I enjoy doing Chicago-style footnotes. I'll go to a random page here, okay? Let's go to a random page, and I'll tell you a fun fact from Chicago style. Random page. See, guys, this page tells you about unusual mathematical characters and basic spacing in mathematics. That's kind of fun. Let's do another one just for funsies. Vernacular names of plants and animals. Looks good. Dutchman's breeches. Cooper's hawk. Mayapple. This is good stuff. I've never seen this page. It's got rules for when you type out military awards and the names of ships and battles. Objects. The use of the comma. This has several pages of just commas. Commas with not phrases. Commas in personal and corporate names. Commas with questions. Commas with Inc. Ltd. and the like. Commas with addresses, with quotations, with quoted or italicized titles or expressions. Anyways, I could go on and on. I love Chicago style. Best book I have. Who's got style? You guys are supposed to say Chicago's got style. I knew you wouldn't say it though. Anyways, team, that is it for History Group this week. I hope you all have a great night. France.